Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel. In this video I'm going to talk about the next 10 verses of Surah al-Baqarah from the Holy Qur'an. Just going to follow on from the usual theme of what I've been doing for the last 20 videos or so, which is just to read first in English and then go through just a little bit of a commentary of some practical insights on how we can not only take in this knowledge into our minds, but also into our hearts and into our action as well. So we can become people of faith by the way we act, and not just have knowledge, but to apply this knowledge and be better as Muslims as a result. So I'll get started by reading verse 221, and I'll read through to verse 230 from Surah Al-Baqarah. So, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Do not marry unbelieving women, idolaters, until they believe. A slave woman who believes is better than an unbelieving woman, even though she allures you. Nor marry your girls to unbelievers until they believe. A man's slave is better than an unbeliever, even though he allures you. Unbelievers do but beckon you to the fire, but God beckons by his grace to the garden of bliss and forgiveness, and makes his signs clear to mankind that they may celebrate his praise. So essentially, this is telling us, don't marry anyone who doesn't believe. It's better to marry someone who is essentially a slave and believes than to marry someone who doesn't believe and is essentially free, right? So yeah, that's essentially what this verse is telling us, right? Now the next verse. They ask you concerning women's courses. Say they are a hurt and a pollution, so keep away from women and their courses, and do not approach them until they are clean. But when they have purified themselves, you may approach them in any manner, time, or place, ordained for you by God. For God loves those who turn to him constantly, and he loves those who keep themselves pure and clean. So basically, don't really need to go into too much detail about this. It pretty much just talks about, women and their courses, right? Don't need to really go into any detail, I don't think. It's pretty self-explanatory, this one. So I'll carry on. Your wives are as a tilth unto you, so approach your tilth when or how you will, but do some good act for your souls beforehand, and fear God, and know that you are to meet him in the hereafter, and give these good tidings to those who believe. So essentially, from how I understand this, be responsible on how you approach your spouses, and fear God as well. So basically, when we are engaging with our spouses, do so in a godly way, right? So that's what that one is telling us. Now the next verse. And make not God's name an excuse in your oaths against doing good or acting rightly or making peace between persons, for God is the one who hears and knows all things. So we should never try to get out of oaths by using God's name as an excuse. I don't know why anyone would do this or how this would go about, but essentially this is just telling us not to do that. That we should be honest up front and upright, and basically God knows what we are doing when we would do such a thing, right? So the next verse. God will not call you to account for thoughtlessness in your oaths, but for the intention in your hearts, and he is oft forgiving, most forbearing. So this is good. I mean, if we have made an oath and we do it sort of haphazardly, God won't call us to account for this. He will call us to account for the intention that we have. So if our intention is to please Allah, God will essentially forgive us for whatever we have said in our oaths that we may not have kept to, essentially. So that's what this verse is telling us. Now the next verse. For those who take an oath of abstention from their wives, are waiting for 4 months is ordained, and if they return, God is oft forgiving, most merciful. So I guess this is kind of more or less angling towards when you are not getting on with your spouse. Wait for 4 months. And if they come around, or if you stop arguing or whatever, then Allah is of forgiving, most merciful, and you can just carry on, right? So that's what that one means essentially. Now, the next verse, but if their intention is firm for divorce, God hears and knows all things. So, yeah, pretty obvious, pretty straightforward. If they intend to divorce, that's the best you can do, right? So that's that verse. Now the next verse. Divorced women shall wait concerning themselves 3 monthly periods, nor is it lawful for them to hide what God has created in their wombs, if they have faith in God in the last day, and their husbands have the better right to take them back in that period, if they wish for reconciliation. And women shall have rights similar to the rights against them, according to what is equitable, but men have a degree of advantage over them, and God is exalted in power wise. So this is just telling us, if a woman gets divorced, wait for 3 months. Yeah. I won't go into any more detail on that, but I think that's the main part of that verse. And yeah, that's all I really want to say. So that's that verse. Now the next verse. A divorce is only permissible twice. After that, the parties should either hold together on equitable terms or separate with kindness. It is not lawful for you, men, to take back any of your gifts from your wives, except when both parties fear that they would be unable to keep the limits ordained by God. If your judges do intend fear that they will be unable to keep the limits ordained by God, there is no blame on either of them if she gives something for her freedom. These are the limits ordained by God, so do not transgress them. If any do transgress the limits ordained by God, such persons wrong themselves as well as others. So, I guess, yeah, this is just telling us, when you wish to divorce, you can only divorce twice. If you keep going on like this, basically you're not allowed to, and then basically you can't remarry your wife until she's already married someone else, and that's the main thing. And yeah, that's essentially what this verse is telling us. And lastly, so if a husband divorces his wife irrevocably, he cannot after that remarry her until she has married another husband and he has divorced her. In that case, there is no blame on either of them if they reunite, provided they feel they can keep the limits ordained by God, such as the limits ordained by God, which he makes plain to those who understand. So yeah, that's just what I've already said. Yeah, I don't need to say it again, but sort of just laying out the grounds for divorce, essentially. And that's everything. So not too much to these verses. It's pretty it's not too inspiring, for lack of a better word. This is more or less just legislation on how to deal with divorces and stuff like that. And yeah, I won't pretend that I know it all, but it's good to just go through these verses as a part of this series in order to complete this surah. And I'll carry on making these videos until I finish this chapter of the Qur'an, and then that'll be everything for now, and then we'll see what we can do after that. So thank you very much, and stay tuned. Cheers.